professor, he is an educator, he is all of that. And he has his own business and it's called Big D's Entertainment. And so he's a DJ. And when I tell y'all my brother he be doing it, I've been with him my whole life, my whole life. And he's been into music this entire time. And so one day I had to go. I was in Florida because my brothers live in Florida. I don't know why I was in Florida. For whatever reason, I was in there. But the next day, I had been asked to preach. You know how that is. You go to the church, your old stomping ground. They want you to come give a word to the people. So I was there and I had to preach on Sunday morning. But Saturday, my brother had a gig and I had never heard him in public. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go support my brother. So it was his favorite show of the year is when he has an opportunity to be the disc jockey for children with special abilities, children that have differing abilities. They have a different way of thinking and receiving and processing. Some of them have Down syndrome, whatever it is that they have going on in their bodies. My brother has an opportunity to host their celebration every year. I don't know what they celebrate, but anyway, my brother I went and I love it when the Special Olympic children, whoever the people with different brain health concerns, I love it when they on the dance floor because they don't care. They not waiting on nobody to ask them to dance. They not trying to figure out if they look cute. They just gonna get out there and do it. So my brother, I'm out there with him because listen, if y'all play some music for me, I'm gonna dance all night long. So I was dancing with them, and then I had to go. I could not stay out as late as my brother was staying out because I had to preach the next morning. And so I'm on my way out the door. So I would wait to my brother to tell him I'm on my way out the door. So he watching me, right? So by the time I get to the door, he plays a song that he knows is gonna turn me around. The first note gonna turn me around. So I'm trying to get out the door, and then my brother play a song. I'm like, hey, I gotta turn around. And so I was going out the door on this particular Saturday. I said, listen, dear, this is my last time. Do not turn me around. Because he would laugh every time I turned around. He played this song, Scar. And I said, hey, okay. So, of course, I went back to dance. Now, if anybody was to ask me what they saying on this song, I would not be able to tell you. Because all I know is it sounds like, go. That's what I hear. Toney, do you know what they saying in this song?
Mm-mm.
So I looked up the words. I read the words. I still don't understand. I looked up the words and I was reading the words while they was rapping and I still don't understand. I cut the radio off and tried to just sit with the words myself and I still don't know what we talking about as far as I can tell. There are some women that start off in one of the verses and they're describing their presentation. They're letting you know how that they've chosen certain clothes to wear, that they've chosen certain articles of clothing not to wear. Like they've done all this so they can get your attention. And then the men come in the second verse and they say a whole bunch of stuff. And then at the end they be like, sexy girls, bring the girl. So I hear like 3 or 4 words that make sense to me. But for the most part, I do not understand this song, the word, I don't know what they saying. However, every time the song comes on, just like it came on last night when I was looking for a song for this morning, my entire body responds to the song. As soon as the first beat hits, I'm like, hey, I mean, I'm just a juking in my chair. I'm just a gyrating. I'm twerking. I'm looking back at it. I'm doing all this while the music play. I mean, my body's all into it, and I have no idea what they're talking about. And so all of this movement that I'm doing, all of this celebration that I'm doing, all of this getting excited that I'm doing, all of this having fun that I'm doing it to a song that I have no idea what we're talking about. So we could be talking about anything. And my response is letting the people know, yeah, you doing it. You doing it. Keep promoting this kind of music. But that's not what I don't need to be listening to music that I don't understand because I don't want to participate with anybody. I don't know what's going on. I think I told y'all one time I went out with somebody and they were like, we like to go places where we don't have to think. And I said, what? I don't go nowhere where I don't have to think. And so this song reminds me of that. And so what I feel like we are doing, if I can lift it up out of this song and apply the lens of social justice to it, I feel like that's what we're doing. That the world has bombarded us with so many distractions, so much stuff. We're so busy. We can't slow down. We can't take a vacation. We can't get no rest. We got to go. So when this song's saying, that's how some of us live. I got to go over here. Let me go over here. Let me get this. Let me get that. Let me get that. I got to get this. And no, you don't even understand the journey that you're on in your life because you haven't had time to stop and even think about it. But yet you still going and you keep going. And evidently you must like going because you do not take the time to stop. And I think that's a dangerous place for us to be in, where we are so busy that we cannot stop and sit with our own thoughts. So if you cannot manage your own body, if you cannot discipline your own self, if you cannot manifest self-control in your own life, then how you gonna help with the struggle? Like, how you gonna dismantle a system? How you gonna show up and be ready to burn something down and you don't even know what you don't even know we you don't even know what we marching for. You don't even know what the fight is about. You just out there looking cute or thinking you looking cute. And then the struggle goes on and you are really dead weight. Cause somebody gonna have to carry you because you don't know what you're doing. Caller, you're live on the air, KABF at 8.3. Thanks for calling.
Good morning.
Good
See
morning.
you in August. You know, you be coming up with some of the things that I be thinking about you know, picture yourself spot as being a ship. Water, we got water. We live in water. Water, we actually live in water. Oxygen, the first for that. And we get a lot of top stuff from powerful people dumping their shit down here on our vessels. We try to get a lot of information from other people. We are trying to get their approval. We have a contract with ourselves that we need to deal with. We can't carry it. You cannot carry the burden of everybody. You have to deal with that you can handle and don't get all out there in a lot of things because you're going to make your ship sink if you do that. That's all I like to say. Your vessel, your body, your car, whatever you call it. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Tony, you have something to say because I'm moving on from the song.
I think you're right. One of the things we never, I don't think we take into consideration is choices. Um, I think we make a lot of choices, and just speaking to me, just make a lot of choices. And at the time we make the choices, we believe they are good choices, and we believe that there are good reasons why we're making these choices. But as time goes on, we add more choices, more choices, more choices. We end up at a place where now we feel like we're accountable to these choices. Now we feel like we have to be responsible for these choices. And the problem becomes is that you have to decide, okay, I have to get rid of some of these choices if I want to be a part of this, if I want to uh, uh, change the system, if I want to do this, then I have to get rid of some of these choices. And sometimes I think that's where the difficulty comes in because some of those choices we feel like we have to do, or we have to, or we feel obligated, or we feel loyal to these sources. But the problem is, you can only put so much on your plate before it starts to run over. And once your plate starts to run over, you still try to catch what's running over and put it back on your plate. And I think that's one of the things that is so difficult for so many people to do is to divest from some of those choices.
It reminds just the as you were talking, some situation with my dad came up because yes, life is about choices, and no matter what choice you make, there are consequences and there are repercussions, and whether they are good or bad, that something is going to result from the choice that you make. So when I was growing up, and I did not know my daddy was teaching me this, my daddy was like that. He would be teaching you a lesson, and you have no idea. You really think you're getting cussed out, but it's a lesson up in there. If you read through it, it's a lesson up in there. And so I used to want to go places, and I would go to my dad to ask permission because I was the baby. So I'm gonna look, I gotta go to my dad, and my brothers, they went to their mama. And so I want to know if I can go. So I would go to my dad and I would say, "Hey dad, I'm gonna go to the movies at 7 o'clock." And he'll say, "Who you going with?" I said, "I don't know yet. We trying to get nope, you ain't going." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I go back. Now I know he's gonna ask me who I'm going with. So I gotta go back and find out, okay, get this settled. So I come back and say, "Dad, I want to go to the movies at 7 o'clock and I'm going with Wakila." And he'd be like, "Okay, well, who's driving?" I'm like, I think her mama. Nope, you ain't going. So I would go back and I would have to ask who's driving. And I come back and I say, okay, so okay, now I know he's gonna ask me what time, where I'm going, who's going with what. Okay, and so now I come back. And so every time I come back without having thought through the entire situation of what I was about to put myself into, my daddy would deny my request. But by the time I finally figured out that I need to be ready to answer all his questions before he signs off on it. That means I got to do some thinking. That means I got to be in conversation. That means I got to build a team, a network, because we got to figure this out together before I can go. And so the lesson that my daddy taught me was that every decision that you make, even if it's something as small as going to the movies, requires you to think it all the way through. And you need to think it through on this level, think it through on what happens if you don't go? What happens if the car stops? What happens? Like, you got to have a plan B. And so now I'm like, okay, so if I tell you that I'm going to do something, you don't have to worry about whether or not I'm gonna keep my word. You don't have to worry about whether or not I'm gonna show up. You don't have to worry about whether or not I'm gonna be excellent, because if I say yes to it, it is because I know that I've already counted the cost one way or the other. Even if my answer is no, there's gonna be a consequence for me saying no, and I'm ready to deal with that. And when you talk about choices, Toney, you can't make the best choice if you're not thinking things through. And when you are so busy, it is impossible to think things through. It's just, and I don't know who taught us this word multitasking. And people think that, yeah, I can be on the phone with you and reading a book and watch, make it. No, you can do all of those things, but you're not fully present for any of them. So if somebody comes back and asks you a question, you don't even remember hearing it because you're so busy. And so I think that even in the getting bogged down with choices, at some point, our body should be saying to us, I need you to slow down. Doesn't your body say, ain't you tired? Do you just override what your body says? I don't know. Do you, son?
At times I do. I do. You know, and I think what happens is that going back to two words I said earlier, obligations and loyalty. So you know, so um, the one thing that and it's amazing as you journey through life, you learn some things that you try to impart. Like you're talking about your dad, he tried. You know, there were some things he learned in life that he in turn tried to impart into his children. Hey, you need to do this because if not, there are some consequences to it. And just the yeah, just for a second, talk about children. People who couples or people or women or men, whoever, when they decide to have children and they stop and they said, okay, before I even attempt to have children, let me go all the way through and find out. And, you know, think to myself, okay, I know I'm gonna have to have a job. I know I'm have uh, uh, a dwelling. I'm gonna have this. I'm gonna have to be able to do this. I'm gonna have daycare. I need to plan all this out so it won't come as a shock, or sometimes you'll look at it as a burden or obligation. You try to want to, you know, think it through, but sometimes we don't. And what happens, we have children, and then it becomes this thing of, okay, every day is it's this experience where how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to make this, or how I'm going to do that. And so now you have to go and start making other choices. You know, okay, now I need to do this, now need to do that. You know, and most of the time, you're right. We don't think things we don't think things out. What sounds good in the beginning of that choice, now at times it can feel like it's a burden. It can feel like, oh my God, I'm tired, I'm this and this. But then in the midst of, like you said, your body tell you this, you refuse to do anything about it because you feel like, well, I'm into it now. So now I just have to deal with it. And I think that's one of the phrases that um, is so detrimental to so many people when you just say, well, I just have to deal with it. Well, you need to come up with a plan sometimes, and that's how you deal with it. Come up with a plan that'll help you. If you're going to be in the struggle, if you're going to be in the fight, if you're going to pull down the system, then there has to be a plan that allows you to do that. But if you're trying to just go, willy nilly, it's a lot of times it's not going to end well. It's going to wear you out.
And since you brought up children, if you choose to have this day-to-day parenting style for children because you haven't thought through what it is that you want to do, then you're not going to even rear your children in the best way that they need to be. And then again, you're going to unleash them on us when it's time for them to come into the world. And so my mom, I remember I used to keep my cousin, Mike, I'm coming to see you, Mike. I used to keep my cousin, and my mama already knew what the end she wanted. She wanted to make sure that this young Black man was not violent. He didn't have violent tendencies, that he was self-disciplined, that he learned how to play, that he learned how to play by himself. All of this, she wanted him to speak proper English, quote unquote, the King's English, because I remember my little cousin used to say tater chips. I want some tater chips. And he could not have them until he said potato chips. And so he was like, I want some no, potato chips. My mama wasn't playing. And so she taught me, Denise, if you just pop them along the way, you'll never have to whoop him. He'll never raise up at you. Just pop him along the way. And that's what I did because my mama had already seen the end that she wanted. So she was able to guide me along the way. And so your choices, not only do they affect you, but they affect everybody in your house and everybody in the world because we are all connected. And so I think that that's interesting when you say obligations and loyalty. For me, my number one obligation is to myself. Because if I have run myself in the ground trying to take care of somebody else, your body gonna put you on your back sooner or later. Now that's real talk. You don't listen to your body, that's fine. Your body, you want to keep going? Okay, keep going, Mr. Good Sir. You want to keep okay, and sooner or later you're not gonna have a choice but to take a rest because you can't get up. And so without us listening to our bodies and taking care of ourselves, how is it that we think that we are as effective as we can be if we ain't even managing our own selves because we're too busy trying to do something for somebody else? I didn't know if you want to say something about that. So I want to also couple that song with this message from Ida B. Wells Barnett. Thank you to the loyal listener who sent this to me. This is from an entire collection of Black women's speeches that are narrated by Ruby Dee, and you can find them on Spotify. You can also find them at the digital gallery, BGSU, digitalgallery.bgsu.edu. And so this talk from Ida B. Wells Barnett is on lynching. And she's talking about it as the national crime that it is. And she says lynching, our national crime, because we are all in this story. We all find ourselves in this story one way or another. And she's really attacking it. One of the questions that she asks that I really want to know the answer, she said, how is it that we can have mob murder in a Christian country? Ain't y'all? Don't we say we Christian? Like, how does that work? And she's challenging this notion that the system of lynching, she's challenging the notion that we needed it because of the behavior, particularly because of the behavior of Black men towards white women. We gotta have this system so that we can protect the women. So that seems to be the foundation for many people who consider lynching to be what needed to be done at the time to keep the Black man down. And so she's challenging that notion, and she says we have to remember this, that this so-called protection of women, white women in specifically, that's not the cause for lynching. You didn't need lynching in order to protect the white women. What you came up with was an excuse. So to say that you're trying to protect white women, that's your excuse for lynching people. And so when I'm thinking about this song, and I don't understand nothing they saying, but my whole body is activated. My whole body is in it. Now hear what she has to say. Let's see how our bodies respond to this. So I want you to hear just a couple of minutes. I'm not really sure how many minutes, maybe one or two, but I can't get it exactly on the spot. So it's going to ease into it. So stay with me at the very beginning. It's going to ease into talking about the impact of lynching. This is from the speech of Ida B. Wells Garnett, but it's narrated by Ruby Dee. Uh-oh. I'm still playing it. Okay, let's try it again.
the heroic fighter against discrimination, and the person who had more to do with originating and carrying out a crusade against lynching than any other was Ida Mae Wells. At the early age of 19, as editor of the Memphis Free Press, she began her campaign against lynching. Threatened by white supremacists if she continued her exposure of lynching, she defied them but took care always to carry two pistols for protection. In 1892, she published an article revealing that the lynching of three successful Negro grocers was the work of their white competitors. Her press was destroyed, and she would have been lynched had she not been in Philadelphia covering a convention. Miss Wells went to Chicago, where she joined the Chicago.
um the point that she's making is about how lynching was along the color line, and so we still use it so that we can impact the race relations between us all. And so that's what she's talking about. I'm really going to work to get this up. Tony, do you have a response to of her talking about our national crime, talking about it being along the color line, talking about it being, go ahead if you want to say something, because I was going to go off on something else. You've had to say something?
Yeah, and I think the narrative that has been still has been portrayed and looked at in this country when it comes to black men. I watched a documentary with Will Smith, and I think the name of it was Seven Continents, where he traveled to all these different places. He talked about how people live, and what and when he was in Africa, and he
In the meantime, the Ghost of Arkansas Radio. What's up? That's Steve. That's Keith Harper. The Ghost of Arkansas Radio. What's up? So I want to think about this in terms of our language too, and how subtly. I really think it's subtle. That we just begin to absorb these words and we use them without really thinking about the full impact. Again, we're not thinking things through. Two of the words that I've been thinking about the word master for a long time, but especially since last week, I was thinking about the word mistress as well. But when we think about master, those of us who continue to have the system of let me say it another way. Those of us who refuse to act like the system of enslavement does not still impact us today. Those of us who refuse to pretend, those of us who do not pretend like it doesn't matter, the system of enslavement is not far from our minds. So whenever you say master, I'm going to think about, the first thing I'm going to think about is a person who was an enslaver, because that's what I think about. Master, you had a master, because that's what they call it. I don't know what the word, why they started calling him that, but that's the word. And so I think about that now when how we use the word. If you want a degree, you want a postgraduate degree, you're gonna get your master's degree. If you want to be the head, you want to show the most skill in some area, you're gonna be a master chef or a master engineer or a master technician or a master contractor. And so even if it's something negative, even if you have a plot that you're trying to work out that's gonna harm somebody, if you are the one behind the planning of it, they call you the mastermind. And so we've created this language that allows us to use this word master in a way that is now like, okay, it's no problem. I mean, of course, like some of us are striving to become masters at something. Even Belinda Devine, the one who played Rose Maxim, remember, she's working on her master's in social work right now. And so now when you think about master, it doesn't necessarily draw you to the system of enslavement, because we've made it an okay word to use. And as a matter of fact, the Bible be talking about Jesus, your master. Caller, you're live on the air. Thanks for calling Community Voices.
You know, we as people, I ain't saying all people, we take for granted that everybody is basically the same. Now, so we feel like people supposed to feel towards us the way our nature feels towards people. The English language is really not English. I think it's Germanic, German, or some shit. But it really is a cursed language. It came with the newest people on the planet, and you see what the hell they do. Evil, mischief, all over the land. But they were wrong about that they were going. We did say, I'm going to create a man that calls mischief and bloodshed in the land. He would ask, you need, no, he would say, I'm going to create this man. He said, you will create a man that make mischief and bloodshed in the land. He said, nevertheless, I know that you don't know. But he was wrote that they were going to bring this man. When I say man, I'm talking about the family of this wickedness that we call. We use words we don't understand, and we really put curses on our own self. And that vibration that you pick up from that song, that's the water in you 75% vibration. So, oh boy, thank you. I thank y'all so much. Thank you.
Well, I got a lot of water going through me. Well, I didn't know if you were going to respond, Tony. Okay. And so the other word that I've been thinking about is the word mistress. We were having this conversation on Thursday on Tony's show, when we had the members of the cast and one of the directors, Keith Harper. We had Belinda Devine. We also had Dion Burns. We were talking about some of the plots, some of the storyline that's in Fences, and it deals with Rose Maxim as a wife, having to learn that her husband had an affair and it produced a child. The woman died in childbirth, and so he asks her to help him take care of the baby. Of course, she says yes because it's not the baby's fault. I was so glad about that. I was so glad that they did that, because so many of us, when a baby comes from the quote unquote outside, we act like we don't know them, we treat them bad. But no, the baby is innocent, has nothing to do with that. And then once she says yes, this baby is gonna have a mama, he dies. And so now she, the one who is quote unquote innocent in all of this, she ends up having to do the most work. And then to me, it's not lost on me that she's the Black woman having to do the most work. But Belinda, who played Rose, called the mistress a trollop. The woman's name was Alberta, called her a trollop. And I said, wait a minute now. And so even when I think about this word mistress, again, for those of us who do not allow people to take the system of enslavement off of any table, you can trace the word back. Those were the women who owned slaves. We talk so much about the fact that white men held slaves, but white women, a lot of times, the white men would find a white woman who had slaves and hitch his cart to her because he knew that she was going to have some money. And then now you create this patriarchy. Now you in charge of her money. Like, where we do that at? We do it in America. Okay. And so now this word mistress is no longer about the fact that we need to talk about white women as enslavers. It's about, girl, look at she with your man. And so all of the, and these words they divide us. They are meant to divide. We use them to divide. So now when you say mistress, you're thinking about somebody who wants your man, or you thinking about somebody who wants your partner, or whoever you're thinking about, when really now all we've done is we've now absorbed this word that carries so much weight historically, and we use it like we even now use it as a weapon, but not in the context that it should be used. We just accept whatever the world offers us. Like me, I just accepted the song, my body got to moving, then I had to read, and I'm like, wait, slow down, body, slow down. I think I've got it now where we can listen to Ruby D. Listen to Ruby D. Read from the speech from Ida B. Wells Barnett on lynching, our national crime. I really think we are here. Take a listen to this.
Today, hundreds were homeless, and Illinois was disgraced. As a final and complete refutation of the charge that lynching is occasioned by crimes against women, a partial record of lynching is cited. 285 persons were lynched for causes
of um of lynching. That's why she reads so fast, because she's trying to get it in, because she's giving a speech. And as I was listening to this, and I played it over and over again because a couple of words I couldn't understand, but I kept listening to it, and I was like, you know what, that sounds like today when we think about in the system of law enforcement, particularly when we think about how Black men and women and children are gunned down through the system of injustice, the criminal injustice system. And you think about people like Eric Garner, who was lynched who was murdered because he was selling loose cigarettes. When Eric Garner, yeah. And you think about Alton Sterling, they said that he was he wanted
for a gun, even though he told them he had a gun in the glove
Oh,
compartment.
now that's Philando Castile. He said, "Do you have a gun?" And he says, "Yes." And before he can even reach for it, he shoots him. And there's a child in the car along with his partner. And you think, so for obeying, for answering the question, Philando Castile was murdered. For selling loose cigarettes, Eric Garner was murdered. You've got all of these instances where, like Michael Brown walking down the street, somebody was in his walking in the I'm gonna do the walking in his apartment complex, like all of, just for being. Because as she was reading, that's what I was thinking about. So wait a minute, you got lynched because you were unpopular? Yes. You got wait, because somebody don't like me. Just because you don't like me, you get to. So just be if you don't have a good personality, you got lynched. Yes. So I don't want to say for yes, for no reason that makes sense to me. All of this lynching happening, she's talking about something from back in the day, but it's still happening now because we have not taken the time to think through what kind of world we want to live in as it relates to the spirit of Sawubona. We're thinking a lot about the world we want to live in as it relates to AI. We're thinking a lot about it as it relates to the 3%. We're thinking a lot about it as how it relates to gentrification. But what are we going to do about lynching? Because it continues to happen and on so many different fronts. Lynching is not just about somebody hanging from a tree. It is when you have a system that allows the state to accept the murder of its own citizens as okay, as a necessary evil. And so I wanted to bring out what Ida Wells Barnett is saying, because if we gonna think about anything, if anything we needed to get into the flow of our bodies and make us act and make us move in a way that shuts everything down. This is what we should be listening to instead of me over here, because Liz, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna still listen to the song. I'm not gonna lie about that. But I know that I'm also filling my head with so many other things as well, because I don't want us to not play. Play is an important part of our lives. We have to take the time to do those things that put a smile on our face. I still color. I got a color app. I got a coloring book. I like to do that. I like to swing on swings. Almost every time I pass a swing in the park, I go swing. So we have to play. I'm not saying that. You can't just be all about work, because that'll drive your body away too. The point is about what are we choosing to allow into our bodies, and that will activate us in ways that will tear down this system of white inhumanity. That's the point.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the big question. And sometimes you have to stop and you have to look at yourself and you have to realize or try to understand, are we in the system because the system benefits us? And we know that the system benefits the people, the people in the system. But how does it benefit? And that's the question I have to ask myself sometimes, is that a lot of times we don't want to tear down the system. Let's be honest. There are a lot of people, black, poor, white, Hispanics, whatever ethnic group you want to name. I can't stand the system. I know the system is wrong, but there's a benefit to me within that system. And if I leave that system, what is my alternative? And what is going to benefit me? And so I think that's because as long as you're in the system, you on this constant tread, you're on this constant wheel like a hamster going around, because you're just stuck in the system. And so to pull away, it has to be something else, or you have to create something else, or you have to be able to imagine something else that does not keep me on this wheel. And I think you can call it what you want to call it. You can call it the grind. You can call it on my daily life, or you can call it whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, you have to realize, even though there's a benefit to the system, is it beneficial to me? And I think that's the question that a lot of people have to ask, especially Black people. Is it beneficial to me? Is the benefit that I get by being complicit in this system worth it? I guess that's the easy way for me to say it.
Well, in order to answer that question, I feel like, again, you have to think through who it is you want to be in the world. And so when we talk about complicity in the system and how we're the only people that are benefiting from this system are people who are trampling on others. That's the only way you can benefit from the system is that's the way the system is designed. It's designed to make everything this, I'm going to step on you to get to where I'm trying to go. And I'm trying to be the best. I'm trying to be the GOAT. I'm trying to be this. I want to have that. I want to, and all of the material trappings. And so some people, you're complicit because of what you desire. You want to have this big old house that was really not necessary for the fact that ain't but three of y'all living in there, but that's what you want. So you think about the kind of that's what we need to do. Think about the kind of person that you want to be in the world, and that will help guide your decisions. Again, going back to my mama, start with the end first, and then bringing in my daddy. Think about what it is that you're doing, and do not go out half-cocked. So thank y'all so much for joining us for Community Voices Live right here at KBF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. Do not touch that dial because your girl Lola has trusted me with the music on today. So your girl DJ Delight is about to bring you 2 hours of Jazzy Tuesday right here exclusively on this station. You don't want to miss it. We'll see y'all soon.